All right, man. Let's talk about the Detroit Lions taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Um, if you didn't see my video from earlier, apparently the Lions are favorites in this game. They are at home, and customarily the home team gets um, 3 points. All right, automatically, usually 3 plus points. Obviously as the matchup go, the points kind of move the other way. They're 1.5 point favorites coming into this match. I think 1.5 point favorite, whatever. Um, versus the 9-2 Minnesota Vikings. Now, like I said in my other video earlier this morning about the Lions being the favorites, the 9-2 Minnesota Vikings seem to have a vibe to them, kind of remind you of that Lions team in a certain way. The year they made the playoff and played Dallas, I forget their record, 11-5. Where in that situation, they were like coming from behind winning games, and at the end of the season, they started to slide. But when you look at the talent on that team, it was big time talent, bro. It was big time talent. Golden Tate, Calvin Johnson, but offensively, they just couldn't get it rolling. And ultimately, a lot of people speak on Jim Caldwell, but his mistake was not wanting to call the offense. I mean, you got to remember, he called the offense for Joe Flacco Super Bowl run. Even though it was some magical stuff on that run, I will say myself, with that like 70-yard bomb to Jacoby Jones to knock out Denver, I think that might have been overtime or something like that, right? It was some magical stuff going on in that run, but you got to remember they fired Cam Cameron in the middle of that season. Yeah, they fired Cam Cameron, and Caldwell took over the offensive play calling duties that year. And Caldwell probably should have took over the offensive play calling uh, for for well, he should have took it over for the Lions that year. And I think Joe Lombardi was the offensive play caller, and it just wasn't clicking. Defensively, that was championship. That could have been a championship caliber defense. Offensively, it could have been. But Caldwell, everybody talk about Caldwell had him going the right direction. His mistake was offensively, he couldn't get right. You're an offensive coach, you couldn't get the offense right. With the amount of talent they had offensively, his thing was, well, we're not gonna let Matthew Stafford mess it up. We're gonna play, safe and all that type of stuff, and it didn't work. We always talk about his the great things he did. He was a huge part of them being a more disciplined football team, kind of wild childs with being wild child with Jim Shorts and all that type of stuff, the hardball situation and all that. But that was his mistake. That was the year for them. That was the year. They should have beat Dallas, and offensively, they couldn't do it. And down the stretch, in that year, they came from behind. A lot of games came from behind. I think in the regular season beat Dallas. They was coming from behind, and what they did when they got down, two scores, they got down, multiple scores. What they did then, they never implemented, into the offense, And then when Reggie Bush and Joyke Bell fell off and they couldn't run the ball no more, it was a wrap. All of a sudden, they start fumbling and whatever the situation may be. But the Minnesota team kind of gave me them vibes, The record looked good, the talent, you look at the talent look good, but there's just something that ain't right with Minnesota. Remember, I predicted Minnesota will run away with the NFC North. That wasn't no shocker to me. They fired Spielman and Mike Zimmer, and cool, but ultimately, it's still a really good football team. I mean, they cleaned up the offensive line. They blocking, they protecting a lot better. But what it boiled down to me, it's kind of what it boiled down with the Detroit Lions that year. The quarterback is just fluky. As simple as that. It's just some type of haywire. Now, I'm gonna give a comparison. We already seen them play before, and I'll get to breaking what they need to do now. Really, we already know what it is, right? But yeah, the quarterback is fluky. Super fluky. We all know that. Stafford too. But another guy that was real fluky in big games was Drew Brees. And Sean Payton made an adjustment and said, "We not gonna win the championship just in and out." Remember, they lost. I think they lost the NFC Championship game. This is for Minnesota fans, right? They lost the NFC Championship game in Chicago, and they went outdoors. And Chicago had a really good defense and all that. And Chicago probably should have won the championship too, honestly. If Jay Cutler would have riding that bike, Caleb Haney almost had beat Aaron Rodgers too. But nonetheless, I digress. But yeah, and they lost that game, and Sean Payton made the adjustment. He said, "You know what? We're not gonna win the ball. We're not gonna win this, win the championship airing the ball out. We got to get more balance. We got to run the football. We got to do things that's going to be the extension of the run game. That's what we got to do. We got to do things that's going to be an extension of the run game. We have to run the ball. If it's Pierre Thomas, Reggie Bush, we got to run north and south. We got to run north and south, and that's the adjustment. And I think with the Minnesota got really two good running backs. When you talk about Madison and Dalvin Cook, is one of the 10 best running backs in the league. And you gotta run the football. If you Minnesota, you gotta find a way. You invested all them assets into the offensive line. You have to run the football and take the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hand. And when it's time to make a throw for Kirk Cousins, play action off of that and simplify the game for Kirk Cousins. Putting the ball in Kirk Cousins' hands, y'all won't win a championship like that. Keeping whoever y'all play, Dallas to 49ers whoever it is, the Eagles on the other sideline, y'all running the ball with Cook and Madison, going to them in the screen game and the Texas route game, the short passing range, going through them, then play action down the field with, Hockenson running, down the seams or down the middle or outside the hash, then Justin Jefferson. And also, y'all can't do it without Adam Thielen. Thielen has to become an option. I love giving the ball to Justin Jefferson, but imagine if it's going to be hard for you to implement Hockenson in the middle of the season. But imagine, getting Thielen, involved like he once was. Justin Jefferson, he makes some amazing catches. So imagine if Thielen, if he getting all that attention, imagine the attention that Thielen can get. That Thielen not getting. I got to look to find Thielen more. Thielen's had 10, 15 targets alone in the game. And he probably going to catch, 8 or 9 of them. Shit. Good short-handed guy. So, Minnesota, they got the record, but, and I think they got the talent to do so. But I just don't trust the quarterback. I'm not sure about the head coach and kind of the game that he's running and all that type of stuff. But ultimately, they're going to have to revamp their formula. And I think going through Cook and Madison, and then involving Thielen a lot more, it'd be a more dangerous football team. And that's just going to take attention off Justin Jefferson. It's hard to say, we should use Justin Jefferson as a decoy. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say that, but I would run that ball. I would take the game out of Kirk Cousins' hand, and we would be a time of possession football team. That's what we will be. We'll be a time of possession football team. And that's what Minnesota got to do. That's what nobody talk about what Sean Payton did. They amped up the defense. And they took the ball a little bit out of Drew Brees' hand. That's exactly what they did. And they started running the ball. And if Minnesota can commit to running the ball, and then support that with the short passing game, that's gonna make Jefferson that much more deadlier. That's just gonna make Jefferson that much more deadlier. Real talk. So I think they gotta reevaluate their formula. And that's going to slow down the Micah Parsons and the Nick Bosa's. That's going to slow that ass completely down. Trust and believe. That's going to slow them completely down. They going to have to respect. They're going to have to respect the run, and that's going to open up a lot. That's going to make it a lot more comfortable for Kirk Cousins. It's going to make it a lot more comfortable for Kirk Cousins. But going into this matchup, the Lions know what they got to do. They lost to Minnesota. People say some coaching errors and all that type of stuff that come with young coaching, but on the real, they lost that matchup. And we being 100% honest, they lost that matchup on the strength. They got injured. That's what it was. Had the injuries not happened to Reynolds, St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, and I know if it was a fifth, we all be drunk and all that type of stuff. But had those injuries not happened to those individuals, dog, that game would have like the Jacksonville game. Now, I'm just being honest. We'd have ran right through their ass like Dallas did. So when you get in the fourth down and Jamal Williams gets stopped and all that type of stuff, that play on your mind. That play on your mind, when you Dan Campbell. So, what if Jamal Williams didn't get stopped on that one fourth down? They probably going for it. If we being real, they probably going for it. But, it was injuries. The one thing about losing some of these dudes, it allowed Ben Johnson to be a little bit more creative in his offensive attack. But it's a big game. Maybe not so much for Minnesota. They 4-1 on the road. It might not be a game. Kirk Cousins had our number for years now. And it might not be a big game for them, but they won a game behind Philly. We could be, Philly can get yourself for injury, a stumble here and there. Well, they 2 games because Philly got the tiebreaker. They still got to play Dallas. They still got to play the football team, the Commanders again. So this is a meaningful game for Minnesota. You really want to have to go through Philadelphia. When you can play inside the dome. So it's a big game for them. But it's a huge game for us. It's a playoff game for us. And it's a revenge game. Throw all the analytics, throw all the power index away, throw all the stats away. And Jared Goff numbers just as good as Kirk Cousins, and most of his receiving core have been out the whole year. Think about that for a minute. This shit is about sticking it to them, bro. This is a revenge. And this is a game to put the whole league on notice that we for real, bro. We are playoff contenders. And if they lose this, then, the playoffs is out of reach. More than likely. Because the NFC East, of course, them dudes got to play each other, but we can't have no slips, no falls. We saying robots bounce, no slips, no falls. Come on. We can't have that. We can't have no BS going on. So it's critical. And, this is kind of critical for them from an experience standpoint of view. Every week is a playoff game. Now, some of the games we tricked off, like the first Minnesota game, it was what it was. But the injuries had a lot to do with that. Because they shown, the Lions shown that they can run the score up on mofos. And that's exactly what happened without the injuries. And Ben Johnson did struggle with preserving leads. He did struggle with preserving leads. I will say that. He did struggle with preserving leads. And he's still kind of struggling. He like to go with the high percentage throws than the runs. And to me, he got to get them running backs get north and south and hitting the hole. All that misdirection and shit like that. I would like to kind of see them, if they not going to, commit, if they going to continue to commit to the run, I would like to see them go with the screen game too to the backs. So we know what Minnesota is: explosive offense. You know what you got to do to Justin Jefferson. You know you got to wrap up. No shoulder tackles. No arm tackles on Dalvin Cook. Like you know what Kirk Cousins can do. I think it was a 7 route to KJ Osborne. He can throw it out. He can sling it. You know what I'm saying? But this is a statement game. This is a very important game for Jared Goff. This is a game in which people could really say, well, the kid from Florida, he declared for the draft today. It could be the difference of them thinking like we got to go get Lamar, we got to go get Bryce, or it could change the thinking of them saying, you know what, we could buy some time with Goff, we can restructure his deal for the short term, and we can develop the kid from Florida, or we can develop Hendon Hooker. We let his leg heal. We can develop, Jay Daniels. Instead of saying, you know what, we really like what we got. What if we plug in Lamar, Bryce? Take some of them assets and build around. This is one of them games for Goff as far as, you got to stick it for Minnesota. You got to stick it to Minnesota. This got to be a statement game. If you're going to be if there's any case to be made for you, then you're making a good case to be sticking around here. But if any case to be made, you got to fuck Minnesota up this week, dude. There ain't no other way I can put it, y'all. Excuse my French, but this is what it got to be. He got to come out with the eye of the tiger. And if it's going to take putting up 50 points to beat Minnesota, that's what you got to do. But this is a turning point for Jared Goff in the season. And if they able to turn the corner here, next week gonna be the same thing. Versus the Jets, very good. I think they're a championship. They're almost a championship caliber defense. It's gonna be the same thing next week. Going to Carolina, Stafford got shut out by the Walker kid, whatever from the XFL. Chicago ending off at home versus Chicago, ending off in Green Bay. That's very fitting. With Aaron Rodgers expecting him to come back next year, that's a very fitting in. Going home to Minnesota, going to the Jets, going to Carolina. You know what I'm saying? Coming home to Chicago, they're gonna be looking to inflict pain on us. They might be tanking by them, but that's on New Year's. Then end it off versus Green Bay. Imagine, we win, we get in at Green Bay. Green Bay gonna try their damnedest to stop us from winning. And you know what? I wouldn't have the shit any other way. That might be one of them games that get flexed. I wouldn't have it any other way. If we gonna start to establish that we are forced to be reckoned with, man, I don't mind going through Minnesota to do it, Chicago to do it, and Green Bay. 3 of the last 5 weeks. I wouldn't have no other way. And if all the marbles on the table versus Green Bay and Jared Goff get the fucking job done, hey, guess what? Guess what? I mean, you would love to upgrade with Lamar Jackson. But if he get that job done, get in the playoffs, play well, it's hard not to keep him. But you know what? If you like Bryce Young, you like Lamar Jackson, I would understand. Goff would have raised his stock 10-fold, 10,000-fold. And that might kind of lessen the assets that you got to give. But Sunday, if Goff really want to like really endear himself to the city of Detroit, forget the Lions fan. If he really want to endear himself to the city of Detroit, it's kill or be killed on Sunday. If it takes 60 points to beat Minnesota, 100 points to beat Minnesota, that's what he got to go out there and do. That's what he got to go out there and do. This is to inflict pain on Minnesota. I would love them to run and score up on Minnesota because if we stay healthy, that's what happened. Kirk Cousins had our number. But this game Sunday, this the season right here. This the season. And man, we just talked about what Minnesota playing for. This the season. This is the season. So we'll see. Let me know what you girls and guys think. I got Detroit 34-33. I got them on a late field goal. So 34-33 Detroit Lions. I don't know how, but Minnesota scared me a little bit. So a lot of talent, a lot of veteran, mature talent, but I'm going to go with Detroit by 1. Check out Detroit Lions prediction playlist, Detroit Lions talk playlist. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. The subscribe button is the bell icon button. Hit all notifications, increase your chance to get notifications. We go live and drop video. Financially, you want to support the channel, Cash App, $ CJ Good 313, Venmo CJ Good 313, PayPal link in the description. Hit the link tree, find me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the whole nine. I mean, it was just Spotify and Anchor, excuse me. But don't forget to check out my main channel right here on YouTube, Goodfella TV, for more sports, music, news, and entertainment. Peace.